Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds.
Finally a Jack episode.
I also like that, like any TV show, they go out swimming in their jeans.
Really hard.
Yeah.
Remember back when Jack said that he should give his lifeguard license?
Yeah.
Probably.
Where my light sticks?
Light sticks? What the hell is that?
Light, comma, sticks.
Yeah, everyone thinks astrology is just a load of crap, but
It is.
I don't get it. Do you, Chad?
Dang, Michael. Oh, it's his dad? Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds for another episode of Lost, Episode 5, The White Rabbit. Michael, Kristin, and Gregg are here, but also Kevin is here to talk with us about Lost with his tiny hand.
I just need to know who approved this because I don't.
I always approve it.
Jake, I make friends with the right people. I don't make friends with Chris. I made friends with Jake. Duh.
All right. Well, to kick this off, because Kevin has not talked about Lost yet. So, Kevin, how did you get into Lost?
I am an original. I watched these episodes live. I DVR'd them and I was in college, aging myself a bit, but I was in college and I made my roommate, she and I sat down and watched them together each week and loved it. And then I graduated from college while it was still on, and I watched the finale live with my friends, sat on their couch, and we were all too stubborn to cry in front of each other. So I went home and cried on my own. So I watched the entire thing live. It was amazing. I was not super into the online fandom, just because I just liked the show. I didn't need to get deeper explanations, but yeah, I was there from day one.
Perfect. That makes sense. Well, let's get into episode 5. So, Michael, do you have any interesting facts before we get into the synopsis?
Welcome back to Michael's ratings segment. Everyone's favorite. 16.8 million people watched this episode. We've been jumping between 18 million and 16 people episode by episode. I guess people took a week off. I don't know. This is kind of the show where you can't miss an episode. The only other thing that I had on this episode was, we'll get into it later, when Jack is dangling off a cliff. Matthew Fox insisted on doing that scene himself and not using a stunt double because he wanted the director to get the best shots that he could. So Matthew Fox, great.
Amazing. Yeah.
Were they doing... This is 2004. Were they doing DVR ratings at the time, or was it just live ratings? I wonder if that's a thing that affected it too.
I know that this show did huge numbers when the DVDs, when they came out. It was I think it was early in the DVR stuff, from what I remember from watching the documentary as well. Yeah.
So I wonder if that's if that accounts for that difference in episode. Certain episodes, people just didn't make it home in time, and
yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, Kristin, if you want to get into the synopsis for us for The White Rabbit.
Yeah, so let's kick this off. We open the episode with we see this person we don't know, and it's a kid, and you hear things happening. You see this kid's getting beat up. We see this person telling this other kid to stay down. Obviously that they do not. They stand up, and we find out that this kid is Jack. And so we're going to have a Jack-centered episode. And it's kind of the first that we have really of Jack here, where we're kind of going to get some more backstory.
Yeah.
And with that, we go to the island. Jack is kind of in a trance, and he gets shaken up by Charlie saying there's somebody out in the water, and then you see somebody drowning. Jack, of course, goes out into the ocean to rescue said person. And I'd love to point out that why everyone sat there on the beach, just like, Jack's got it, we're good. All right, Jack, good job swimming. Like,
they sprang into action when Jack got back to the beach.
Right, when he got back, it's like the perfect time. Yeah, it's perfect time to run towards the water. But obviously, Jack goes out, but while he's out in the ocean, he does rescue somebody, and lo and behold, it's Boone, Mr. Lifeguard himself. Jack probably, like, has already said, give your license back. It's proven again. But he also says something, did you get her? To then Jack's, surprise, we see that there is a second person, a woman out in the water. Of course, he brings Boone back to the beach and then goes back out for this person. We later find out that her name is Joanna, and she has died. He did not go out and get her. So kind of first opening reactions, Jake, what are your thoughts on how this is going?
Well, so this is the second person who has died on the island out of the 48, because the air marshal was the first. So it's interesting. We're kind of losing, I guess, very minor characters. I mean, so far, I'm sure there's going to be some that will hurt way worse as we go through the show.
COD.
But no, I mean, again, Jack being a hero, and I guess the theme of the episode, I mean, his dad literally tells him stop being the hero, so which is not great advice from a parent. I mean, you want to be a good person, and if it requires saving someone's life, being a good person and caring for someone else, then that is what you should do. But yeah, I mean, I thought that this was another interesting opening to an episode. So kind of raises the stakes a little bit. Again, you never know, someone could die, and again, Boone almost died, he got saved, so you never know what's going to happen. I think.
I just feel so bad for Jack in this episode. Like, everyone's on his case. He saved Boone's life, and even Boone has a go at him. Like, the guy can't win for losing. He even is so hard on himself over not saving Joanna. What more could he do? Like you said, Kristin, there's like 46 people stood on that beach just watching. Could one other person not have swam out and helped him? Like,
not to mention, weren't all the women like just needlessly in bikinis in like the second episode? Like,
yeah,
you go out there, you're clearly prepared.
Yeah,
I mean, the only one that does have like a pass on this one is Charlie. He clearly tells Jack, I can't swim, so that's why he ran to get Jack. But yeah, I just never understood why they all like, oh, let's go watch this show and what's gonna happen today on this island.
But I will say that, like, that is a thing that happens. Like, when you go to a lifeguarding class, that is a thing that they tell, like, you have to give people jobs, because otherwise they will all stand there and they will expect someone else to do it. So like, we can make fun of them, and yes, someone else should have helped, but that is actually very accurate, that like they'll all just expect, oh, there's 46 of us, so someone else is going to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like Saeed would have been in there. Maybe he was off doing something else with a transceiver.
Oh, no, he was definitely right next to Kate watching Jack.
Oh, was he?
Yes, Saeed was like definitely not. He's like, I'm good.
Michael trying to defend Saeed.
I know.
Saeed is he's not from an ocean area, right? Like, he's not used to swimming in the ocean. Maybe he doesn't know how to swim there.
You know who could have helped? Shannon, because she's done absolutely nothing. Like, this was her time to shine. Girl, like, still sitting there painting her nails.
We're just off the back of her big moment of catching a fish, Kristin.
I cannot.
She needed some sunscreen from Sawyer first.
Exactly.
Like, I love that she's probably like, how dare this person like drown? I was trying to like do whatever I was doing. I was taking a nap or whatever. Ugh, I cannot with this girl. Anyway, so obviously that leads us into later Jack is talking to Kate, wants to know who this woman is. He's like, we've been here. I didn't say one word to her. Like, he's obviously, like you were saying, Michael, very like tormented by this and feeling really bad. Of course, then he sees this random person standing in the ocean again. Kate's like, bro, go take a nap because you're doing some crazy stuff right now.
Yeah.
But this is kind of where it leads to, then Hurley and Charlie are bringing to Jack's attention. Again, poor Jack is getting like thrown into this leadership role. He has time and time again has been like, I'm not doing it. Like last episode, Claire's like, you should lead the eulogies. He's like, I'm good. Like, y'all quit. But they bring to his attention that there's no water. There's very little water left. And again, we thought we would be rescued. So sorry about the boar. Like the boar is like getting eaten up. And so he's like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. They decide to put it in the tent where Jack has been staying. Jack, of course, goes off on he takes off. Boone's yelling at him, like Michael mentioned, because he's mad that he didn't let him die, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't want to be around Shannon either. So there's that. But he obviously goes into the jungle, and our huge reveal of this episode is he finally catches up, and lo and behold, it's good old Dad. Dad is on the island, and he's like, Dad, what's going on? Jake, what was your reaction to finding out who this random person is?
Well, I for some reason thought it was the air marshal last episode, but obviously I'm not gonna know that it's his dad like until this episode and they do the flashbacks. So then I'm like, okay, makes perfect sense. I get it. But I did say correctly that it was like the ghost of his past. So like I figured it was something like that. So at least for right now, it seems like I'm right on something. But yeah, I thought that this was an interesting twist, and it makes much more sense for it to be his dad as like a closer connection to his character. So
yeah. Sorry, Greg, what were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. I thought you started saying something. Sorry. Also, in these moments too, we were always kind of in every one of these recaps that we're doing, we're focusing on like kind of these main characters, if you will. But we get to see a lot of character development with these other ones that we're getting little bits and little bits more every episode. We see Claire's, she's starting to pass out because she is pregnant, she's hot, she's dehydrated. Kate is over there doing folding clothes and all of these things. But also we're getting more into Jin and Sun. And we're getting more into, Charlie, Boone. We're getting little bits and more, and it's fun to see them kind of bringing in these side characters, if you will, during this main moment of what is obviously Jack.
I was going to mention Jin and Sun because I think, they're very isolated from the group, and I feel so bad for them in this situation where that like they've all went through this horrific trauma, but like going through that and then also not being able to communicate with these other people and not knowing what's going on. They're not getting the information that the rest of our cast are getting. So they're just kind of isolated in the corner. So that it's already a difficult situation. I think that's even more difficult for them as well.
Yeah. And I think too, I even brought it up when we were watching it. We see Michael and Walt, again, their interaction. This is like a newer interaction because he just got Walt 2 weeks ago, as he said. But it's such a parent thing. Like, it's so quickly how you turn into a parent with your child. Yep. When they're like, but why? But why? And you're like, oh my gosh, just freaking listen. So
yes.
Again, just the fun dynamics between them. Going back to our next flashback, we obviously see Jake, you talked on this a little bit earlier. But Jack really coming to his dad. This is where we get to kind of start seeing their father-son moment and relationship where he's like, don't be the hero. What are you doing? And so you're kind of getting where we're leading into who Jack is as a person. Yeah. And so I don't know, did you have anything like just in those early moments with Jack and his dad, did you have any like kind of thoughts and feelings on what we were about to see here with Jack and his kind of character building?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Again, this is a family of doctors, and his dad's advice is to not save someone else. Like, that's a bit odd. So again, and so, I feel like Jack continuously is ignoring his dad's advice, and he is like being the hero, and he is like doing things to help people like a doctor should. So like I really appreciated this for Jack's character in this episode.
I think it's a really interesting dynamic as well, because we get that scene where Jack's dad tells him, at the end of the day, you just don't have what it takes, which is exactly what a dad should be telling his young child. But it is very interesting because we see in Jack, in his character, that he's very determined and he is a hero. He has saved so many people and he went in to become a doctor. And would Jack be that character? Would he be that guy if not for that pushing against that relationship with his dad? Not saying that what his dad says to him is okay, but would he be that character? Would those people he saved be saved if not for that, fractured relationship?
Yeah, I did also notice, because I believe it was said by Sawyer to Jack in the episode where he had to put the air marshal out of his misery, that you don't have it what it takes. So that was brought back to this. So
yeah, it's definitely, like I said, you were mentioning it last episode, Jake, is there's really a lot of character building, and what's great about this is, like, even like what we were mentioning, even these side characters, we're starting to get little bits more. But I do love that each episode is really focused on kind of one of those characters, so we can get more of them. But we're still, Lost is doing a great job to still even build these other characters that we're not maybe at the forefront here. So that leads us into Jack running into on the chase after his dad, because obviously he fell backwards and was like, what the heck's going on? But does take off after his dad. He is out in the jungle doing his whole thing, which is probably my favorite part, is he trips and takes the longest fall of anybody's entire life and ends up hanging over a cliff for his life. And
I want to be clear here. A normal person would die in that situation. Like, he fell off. Like, in real life, Jack died.
He's got strong arms.
But the other part was, while this is happening, obviously Claire has now again completely passed out. She is now unconscious for a moment. Being carried in by Michael, and they're bringing her into the tent. Jack is gone, and they're like, she needs water. Where's the water? Uh-oh, it's missing. So now, of course, who stole the water? Where's this water at? But it kind of goes into Jack's gone, all chaos is going loose, but Locke is like, you know what? I'm going to go get the water. You guys stay here and let's take care of things. Jack's doing his own thing. But they end up meeting up into the jungle and having, you guys were talking about in the episode, one of a really good scene where Locke really is kind of talking to Jack. So let's go over kind of, well, first of all, like, stolen water, but like, let's really focus in on this kind of moment between Locke and Jack.
I'll let you guys go because I got so much on this scene.
Michael's like, I'll go last.
As someone who does not like Locke, this is one of his more likable moments for me. No, I like I said during the episode, he's a very well written character. Like, I don't like. I appreciate him for what he is, but like, I don't like. No, I don't like him. If I was on the island, I'd be like, shut up, Locke. But this was one of the times that, like, I actually really did like what he had to say. Like, he was actually supportive and like gave good advice. So, and like, especially when you're juxtaposing that to the flashbacks of Jack getting such bad advice from his actual dad, I really appreciate it.
Greg, Jake, anything before Michael takes the floor on his like thousands of notes here?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Locke in this part too. Like, I think it makes him more relatable than, a box of or a luggage full of knives or anything else that he's done so far. But like, you don't have to come back to me. I got lost.
No pun intended.
Oh, hallucinations. There you go. Yeah, they were talking about hallucinations and stuff, and I wanted to tie that back in. But first, fun fact: this is the first episode that started with a flashback.
Yeah.
So
yeah, usually we go into those. Yeah.
And it's also, again, a Jack-centric episode. So it did start after the flashback with his eye, just like it did to the callback for the first pilot episode. And I thought that was really awesome about it. And as far as the whole lock and everything goes, that was a really great part for me. It sat so well with everybody and everything Locke said. Like he again points to the eye. He said, "I looked into the heart of the island and I saw, or the eye of the island, and I saw something beautiful."
Yeah, I think
this time.
And we now know, because of Walkabout in the last episode, we know where that like faith in the island comes from for Locke. Like, so he has, like, he can listen to Jack and be like, yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, what you're saying to yourself is impossible. Yes, you are correct. That is impossible. However, we're in an impossible place. And like, without giving himself away and giving his like a secret of having been in the wheelchair away, like he has that have faith that could be real, because the impossible is possible.
Yeah. Well, I took from that there's going to be a lot of weird shit going on soon, and that's going to mean something for the rest of the show moving forward, is that a lot of impossible things are going to happen. So
all right, Michael, it's your time to shine.
Yeah, I mean, we covered some of it, but I said it during our reaction to the episode. I think this might be my favorite scene of the show so far. The reveal of Locke is fantastic, but just character moment between Jack and Locke is just so good. And I just love Locke has this really warm smile and twinkly eyes. I just love watching him. I just think he's an amazing actor, and I could watch him all day. And I love the quote where Jack thinks that he's going crazy, and he says, "Then you're not going crazy. Crazy people don't know they're going crazy. They think they're getting saner." And it's this really good back and forth between them. And you mentioned, Gregg, that I looked into the eye of this island. What I saw was beautiful. We saw Jake that he saw something that the other characters haven't seen. So that is something interesting, that this is the first time Locke is opening up about what he has seen as well as what he's experienced. And he also mentions, Jake, what if everything that happened here happened for a reason? So yeah, that faith in the island. So what were your thoughts on those kind of quotes and scenes?
Well, I think I said in like our first couple recaps here, like, what if the whole point of the show is, like, they're stranded there for a reason? Like, it's not a coincidence that their plane crashed here and like certain people survived or whatever. I feel like there's something to that for sure.
And I think it's interesting that every other character in the show is just focused on survival, which is fair. Locke is the only character that seems to be looking into maybe a deeper meaning of all this, which, as Kevin said, is like totally understandable, because he went through a life-changing experience after this crash. So yeah, I just love that scene so much. It's so good. Terry O'Quinn, Matthew Fox, fantastic.
Yeah, most definitely. Also, I mean, another noteworthy moment of while this is happening, obviously there is now a manhunt on the beach of who stole the water. Hurley, God love Hurley. He goes, "The Chinese people have water." Okay, Hurley,
Hurley.
Like, you gotta love him. You can't even be mad at him. But
right,
you do go over, of course. Saeed and Kate go over. Where'd you get the water? Of course, we don't understand what you're saying. But they do finally get to the point where this is where I love Jin and Sun, because up until this moment, he is very mean to her. He's, get yourself together, like, don't talk, like all these things. But the second that they're like, Saeed's yelling at her, like, "Where did you get the water?" And he comes in, guns ablazing, "I'm protecting the wife." Like, back up, dude. And it just is a very nice protective nature of Jin there that we haven't seen yet, because it's always more. I mean, we did see the hair brushing, but most of the time their interactions are not great. It's a very toxic relationship there. But he does point out that he got the water from my favorite person, Sawyer. Kate,
you love Sawyer? Shocker.
I mean, God, that man. But the thing about it is Kate wants to go, of course, immediately wants to confront him. Saeed says, "Nope, wait, because he's going to lead us right to where it's at, because I don't see the water over there," which he does, and she jumps him And this is probably one of my favorite things. He's like, it's about time. And I'm like, see, I'd be like focused on that. I'd be like, yes, it is about time. Get naked. Let's go. But she says, what about what? And he says, I made this birthday wish 4 years ago. I'm like, I love him so much. I cannot. But of course, they get into this whole thing. Where's the water? It's obviously not there. But Sawyer has a very hefty stash, which now he has to rehide because they found him out. But again, just kind of figuring out that Sawyer does not have the water. So who has the water?
Because that's what we're all thinking. Like, that's what I was thinking in 2004 when I watched this. Like, who has the water? I mean, Sawyer has the water. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Sawyer doesn't have the water? Well, now what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're on Sawyer. Even that scene with Shannon earlier, where he's like, "You're in my light sticks," and he trades with her, and Sawyer is just Josh Holloway, who plays Sawyer. I don't think I've ever seen someone who's just got more natural charisma. He's so charming. He kind of, linking back to our Survivor content, I always kind of linked him with David, the Golden God from Survivor Australia. They have that kind of boyish charm, and he's just so charismatic. He's fantastic in all the scenes that he's in.
That accent does a lot of work for him.
I this is a fun fact. I will be seeing him in just a few short weeks, so I'm like really freaking excited. I hope he calls me Freckles, and I also hope he does a lot of other things to me, but we can't discuss that on a podcast.
Well, after that hasn't happened, maybe ask him to come on the podcast, and we can
I can do that too. I can do that too.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But anyway, I loved all of your shock faces, and if that's not like a picture of everything, I don't know what is. Anyway, so now we get back to, we're getting to flashback here with Jack. He is being told by his mother, like, your father's gone. He's in Australia. We need you to go get him. He's like, I'm not going to get him. We're not talking. She's saying, after what you've done, you need to go get him. So obviously there's some turmoil here. He hasn't talked to his dad. And he obviously goes to Australia to find him because what mom wants, mom gets, apparently. And she's also kind of saying, things that a parent typically doesn't say to a kid. Like, she's really just like demeaning him as a person. So Jack goes to Australia, obviously, talks with the hotel manager. He's in his father's room. He's missing. He left his wallet, but the hotel manager's talking about, like, bro, he is a little drunk. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. And then, of course, we see him a little while later in these flashbacks as well, go down, walking the hallways of the morgue, going in and realizing that his father has died. And so kind of him coming to that realization, which then brings us to him sitting there at that campfire, just kind of really, you can see him going through these emotions, that I'm seeing my dad on this island. There's no real relationship here because we hated each other. And now I'm having to go through all of this just turmoil again, over and over. And it's just something that is really hard for him. We see in his other flashback at the ticketing counter.
Yes.
I need it to be done. I need it to be done. And that is where.
Yes. And he says, I'm in the suit I'm wearing to my dad's funeral. And that's the suit he crashed in. Like, it's only been 6 days since, like, it's so much for this man to be dealing with. And now he's seeing his dad walking around the island. Like,
I think that's the important parts of these little clips of these flashbacks, is we're really seeing that there is something. We already knew that it kind of was starting off not great because he's a 10-year-old kid just being talked to, like, not how a 10-year-old should be. But now that we see that later on down the road, it's only gotten worse. And he's not only not talked to his dad, he went missing. He's going through all the stuff of where's my dad, and then finding out he's dead. And now, you know what I mean? So just
he didn't go to Australia knowing his dad was dead. He went to Australia and find his dad like passed out.
That's what I'm saying. He went there
and instead finds him dead and is in poor Jack.
Also, as well on this, in terms of how much of Jack's life has been affected by this toxic relationship with his dad. Jack was trying to rush home. He got on the first plane that he could to try and get his dad home. If Jack had a better relationship with his father and could take that time and could process the emotion more, he was just rushing home. Like, he got on the first flight he could, and it's this flight. It all leads him to the island, and that all links back to that relationship with his dad.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you're really seeing him at this campfire, just really going through it, right? And then not only is he now seeing his dad, but he's hearing the clinking of his drink and the ice in his cup there. But obviously follows his dad into finding this cave where we walk in and we see this casket. He opens it up and it's empty. What? Little weird. But again, you go through all those emotions that Jack's feeling like, oh my God. And he smacks the shit out of it. So, I mean, I don't know how you guys, like, if you guys want to touch more on Jack and his turmoil, like Jake, I don't know what your thoughts are for feeling for Jack there.
Yeah, I mean it's rough. It's not easy topic to talk about. And like I feel for that. Yeah, I mean it's interesting to me that the casket is empty. Because he was obviously like trying to get the casket back home, had to like fight to get them to put it on the plane. And so yeah, I do find that interesting, and whether that comes into play later, it might. So putting a pin in that one for now.
Yeah, I mean, so the plane broke apart. This casket, it was far away from where our plane crash site was, so there is a chance maybe the body fell out in the crash and is lost somewhere, or maybe there's something more to it. Yeah,
maybe the body never made it onto the plane. Like, there's so many things. Maybe he came back to life and this really is his dad walking around. Like,
yeah,
I'm not denying that that's a possibility.
Or Jack is crazy.
Yeah.
No, he's not crazy.
Or Jack is crazy and the body was in there.
Crazy people don't know they're going crazy. Greg, what are your thoughts on this, just like this relationship and these feelings that Jack's gonna have to go through and going through?
I mean, sorry, I got stuck. You see, you got Jack and his dad, and then
Are we losing Greg?
He looks a little frozen.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're gonna just trudge on, and when he comes back, he can finish his thoughts. But I mean, kind of to talk a little bit about this kind of situation, especially if you've never been through a situation like this. I can personally, like, this is where this episode I really connected with Jack. I have a horrible relationship with my adopted mother. She, like, it was things that she treated me just like Jack's dad, like, where you just really, like, you're not good enough. You're not, you know what I mean? Just these, how horrible things that you can say to your child for them to not speak to them and it's completely fine. You know what I mean? Like, then I can't imagine, I haven't gone through that part of like the whole death of her yet, but like, I just can't imagine all the roller coaster of emotions, especially when you're being, just kind of like mentally abused, like for your entire life, And so, I mean, I really do feel a connection with him at this point in time, and it's a rough situation. So I don't want to going back to, so that we keep trudging along here, kind of the end of the episode here, we find somebody giving Claire water, and it's like, oh, or who stole the water? Lo and behold, it's Boone. Freaking Boone, knock it off. What are you doing?
More like bonehead. Like, come on, Boone.
Boone's rationale is that it left it all in the same spot. Jack took off. Somebody had to take accountability because Boone wants to be the leader. Him and Jack in their little spat earlier, he's like, "Who appointed you the leader? I'm king. I run a business." Like,
Boone, you're pretty, but you're not a leader.
And so he explains why they are all coming for him. They're all really mad, obviously for reasons, because that's all the water they have left. They don't know that Jack has found fresh water. But Jack does come back, just like Gregg is walking into the scene right now.
What perfect timing.
Most perfect moment there for that. But Jack does come back to the beach there, and yells at them like, "All right, you guys are about to get the best monologue of your lifetime. Here you go." Synopsis: live together, die alone. Like, stop it. You guys are like, we all need to work together. We're not no one's come yet. Who knows if they're coming? Quit looking out for yourselves. We have to live together or we're going to die alone. And I think that that's one of the best. I mean, that's the Cliff Notes version of that monologue, but it's a very powerful monologue here in this moment. And so, Jake, I don't know what your thoughts were on this moment where, like, he's tried so hard not to be the leader because of his things in his past, but he came right back in and was like, all right, I guess I'm the leader. So what were your thoughts going into this?
Yeah, I mean, just shows he's a great leader. I mean, I'm sure he's a doctor. He's used to doing this sort of thing. And so, I liked again that it showed that this crew has a leader. There may be people that will try to take the leadership away from Jack. I'm sure. Obviously, Boone was already trying to do that. So, should be interesting to watch, but I did like the speech and everything and anything to band this crew of misfits together as we move forward.
Tragic misfits, all of them.
Yeah, I mean, but even Sawyer was listening. If you guys saw, he's being a little good boy. He was over there like, okay, Doc.
Let's not get carried away with calling him a good boy, but I mean,
he's a very good boy. He's like, you
can fix him. Sure.
So he could be a good bad boy.
But yeah, I think, when Jack is away from this group, we saw it went into complete disarray. And I think you hit the nail on the head with Boone and what he was thinking in that situation. I think he has a massive inferiority complex, and he was humiliated in his own mind that he's this lifeguard. He was going to go out there and save the day, and he couldn't do it. And he was, he was telling Jack, I was fine. He's like, you were not fine. You would have died too. Jack saved your life, and he couldn't save her life because he had to save yours. And yeah, when Jack comes back into the group, he really rallies everyone back together. And Jack has been holding them together for the first 4 episodes, and the group has been, doing okay. And then he leaves for like a day, and it all goes to shit.
It's not even
all
a day.
goes to
for
shit.
A few hours.
Yeah.
Imagine if Locke wasn't there to pull him off that cliff.
Yeah, right. Well, we're touching on that, I would just like to say that moment where Locke does pull him back up and they're just lying like in each other's arms, and Jack has just had a hell of a day, and he just bursts out laughing at the ridiculousness of this entire day he's having. It's so funny.
But what's even funnier about that, because you start laughing at that moment, like, okay, Jack, like, you're losing it a little bit, but it's the look on Locke's face, like, bro, what's the problem here? So I mean, which I think led perfectly into their talk that we did talk about. Gregg, Jake, anything on that? Anything else you guys want to touch on before we get to our final closing scene?
Yeah, I really like that scene with Jack where he does the speech, mostly because it kind of feels like that's his Locke coming out of the woods with the boar moment. Like he's doing what he said he shouldn't do before he came to the island. You're not the hero. Go be the damn hero. Go do your walkabout. I thought that was a great little touch.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Jake, have anything else you guys want to add before our closing segment?
I'm a hero. I'm a Jack. So I love this speech. I'm like, yes, everyone needs to band together. Kristin's over there like, no, I'm stealing your water and I'm hiding it from you and I'm not giving it up.
I so am.
Like, right. We know because you're the villain. I'm a hero. I'm a Jack. And
I'll be in good company with Boone and Sawyer. That's a perfect sandwich for me to be in the middle of.
Ugh. I mean, I guess when you put it that way, it doesn't sound so bad, but
right.
No. No, so I just I like watching him because Locke said you need to go find what you're looking for so that you can be the leader that these people are looking for you to be. And so he found the empty casket and that's the voice in me that tells me not to be a hero, not to step up, that is gone. And so now I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I love that for him.
Yeah. Which of course then leads us to our closing scene of Jack and Kate sitting on the beach. She brings him some water. She's such a good little, whatever she is. And he has...
Yeah, good little fugitive.
I mean,
International fugitive.
she's doing more than Shannon, so you got to give her that.
Fair.
He does let her know that his dad had passed, and I mean, we said this in the watch that, like, because we brought up this music and the scores of each episode, that's kind of where we get our first take, if you will, on the theme music of Lost, if you will, because they use it several times. But I think it's just a beautiful, again, touching moment that he's able to talk about his dad's passing because he's now officially has let it go. So I think it was a great ending to the White Rabbit.
Right. And because when he was talking to Locke earlier, he kept saying, I see someone, I see something, I'm chasing something. He was like not specific. So now to like be speaking about it. And like we were saying earlier, he was in the suit on the way to the funeral. Like, this is probably the first time that he's really talking about it with someone else at all, like in his life, you know, like aside from the doctors at the hospital. This is probably the first time he's doing it. So good for him. Good growth, Jack. Proud of you.
He grew a lot this episode.
He did. So now we get to our favorite part of episode rankings and favorite and least favorite characters. So Jake, start us off with the rankings.
All right, so right now we have Walkabout at number 1, the pilot at number 2, and Tabula Rasa at number 3. So now White Rabbit. This is a tough one because I feel like I really enjoyed Walkabout and the pilot, maybe a tad bit more, but this was still a really good episode. I would maybe say number 3 for this. I still think this is above Tabula Rasa, but that's where I would put it. I think I just enjoyed the contents of Walkabout and the pilot a little bit more.
Well, yeah. The reveals of Locke in the wheelchair is amazing. Yeah. Like Walkabout's great. And the pilot like sets the whole thing up. So yeah, right.
So does anybody disagree with Jake's rankings? All right, Michael.
Yeah. Oh, Michael.
I thought it was happening. That's why I did it.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I think to me this is right behind Walkabout and almost as good as Walkabout. I this is such a good character episode with Jack and the journey that it goes on. I think that the pilot's obviously a more big episode and it's the big introduction to the series, but like rewatching this episode, I thought this is such a good episode where I was really struggling. I was like, you know, the reveal of Locke is fantastic, but on Island, I think this episode was better. I wouldn't place it higher than Walkabout, but me personally, I would have it just below Walkabout.
That's fair. And I don't think this is a bad episode.
Yeah.
What
Greg?
were you saying, Greg?
I'd have to keep it in third because like it just doesn't give me enough about Jack. It gives you a lot of it, but it doesn't give me enough. Like it tells me why he got to Australia or why he went to Australia, but it doesn't tell me a whole backstory or as much of a backstory. You don't get something extremely surprising like you did with Locke or with Kate.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with Michael to an extent. It's kind of where I'm kind of the wedge in between you both with you guys here.
I've already lost the vote. It's fine, but I'll agree.
No, for sure. But here's why.
Than the pilot.
I mean, my initial thing is agreeing with Jake and everybody else with the pilot being at number 2. But what I will say about White Rabbit, though, to almost put it above the pilot for me, would just be that there was so much development on just one character,
right?
In that episode that it was just like mind blowing how much like I know Greg, you were saying like you didn't get enough, but you don't get enough of key things, but you got so much in terms of that character development versus maybe not the character details.
I mean, they can only give you so much in 42 minutes.
I want to correct my statement. What I meant to say was they didn't give me enough in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Right. There's not as much big reveal in this.
Right. Correct.
Yeah. Like to find out that Kate is this international fugitive, to find out that Locke was in a wheelchair, and then to find out that Jack got beat up as a kid, and his dad was a jerk. Like I understand that it's not as big of a like shocking reveal. It is still very good though. Like even to say it's not as good as some of the greatest episodes doesn't mean that it's not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
For sure.
And I just think that Luck and Jack scene is, if we were ranking like favorite scenes when we're done with this, like that scene between them will be in my top 10 favorite scenes of this show. I just think
Live Together, Die Alone. Live Together, Die Alone.
Live Together, Die Alone, iconic. I've got
it's one of the iconic moments of the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed. We haven't had a bad.
You won't know. You don't know, Jake, but you should agree because that's correct.
So with that, favorite character, least favorite character, Jake.
Boy. Well, we had some great one-liners from Sawyer. But I'm trying to think if I want to give it to Jack this episode because it did center around him, or I want to give it to Sawyer, but I'll give it to Jack. I think Jack had a really good episode. Again, development was really, really solid. I did also like John Locke, but I think I'm on a high from the last episode. So, and his moment with Jack was really good. So, but I'll give it to Jack. And then least favorite. You know what? I'll give it to Boone this episode because I feel like him just trying to like steal the leadership from Jack and be the hero. He was trying to be a Ryan Neo Wayne and steal the screen time.
I just almost spit my water. Oh my god. Well done.
So yeah, I will give Boone the least favorite character of the episode.
Convincing.
Okay, Kevin.
Favorite. Well, okay. So I will say, because if I do more of these, I mean, I plan on doing more of these, but in the future, it's going to happen very rarely.
If you don't.
It's going to happen very rarely that I like John Locke. So for this episode, I will say he is my favorite. I think he's a good advice giver to Jack in Jack's time of need. And there's plenty more opportunities for Jack to be a favorite character of the week. Least favorite character, I'm going to go with Shannon, because what did she contribute to the plot of this episode? What did she do? She stood in it. She stood in Sawyer's light and asked for bug spray. Asked for bug spray and then didn't even get the bug spray out of it. Like, you added nothing to this. Least favorite character.
That's very fair. She was close second, but
Gregg.
I'm gonna go with my least favorite first, which is gonna be Claire in this one. Only because she starts to become a problem. Like, she started passing out on the beach. Like,
brutal.
You're on an island. Like, she's a problem. She's about to give birth.
She's a liability.
Yeah.
And you call me the villain.
You were just looking for water 30 minutes ago. Like, come on now.
We're just being villains.
How you gonna
right
birth
now.
a baby?
God.
My favorite really episode is going to be John, because you weren't the key character for the episode and you stole the scene. Like, that was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah, we talked so highly about Terry O'Quinn, and again in this episode, even not as the main character, he just shines every time he's on screen. I'd also like to flip it and talk about Matthew Fox in this episode, because everything that Terry O'Quinn did in the previous, Matthew Fox did in this one. His performance was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And the growth for Jack in this episode was great. I think this was, weirdly, considering we're 5 episodes in and he's, our core character, this is the first time we're getting a real in-depth look at him 5 episodes in, and it was great. I'll give Jack my best character. And my least favorite character, who would be my least in this episode? Oh, Boone. Yeah, Boone. But Boone sucks. Like, the fact that you hate on Shannon, but you won't hate on Boone. Either hate them both or don't hate either.
No, I'm sorry. Boone can do no wrong. Have you seen the man?
I'm not saying I liked Boone.
I'd be like, okay.
I'm saying at least Boone did something. Shannon just stood in the light.
Yeah.
So
tried.
So here, I do really want to give it to Locke in this being my favorite, because he really kind of took on the father figure role that Jack so desperately needed in that time. But he's not going to be, but he is very close to breaking into that favorite. I still have to go with Sawyer.
I just mimed it.
I'm keeping it consistent, but here's why. He is in barely any scenes. He is not a main character. We have not gotten any main character energy yet from him, but he steals the show with literally like 2 lines. Like,
Yeah.
he's just you were talking about Sawyer every episode, and he's still not consistently there as like a main one. And so that's why he has to be my favorite, is that he can steal the entire episode with just like 2 lines. Least favorite, again, sticking consistent. Shannon, girl, like, again, doing nothing. You're complaining about sand fleas. Then he gives you some negotiating, which, I mean, I would have jumped on the deal that we were talking about here. And then he's like, okay, fine, money. And she's like, I can't believe you would do this to me. Let me throw it in your face and storm off. Like, I can't. Just please, again, go sit down, go tan yourself, paint your nails, like, hope somebody dies because they're, bugging you. Like, this is what Shannon's bringing to the table. I cannot.
Are we keeping a tally of how many times Kristin makes Sawyer her favorite character of the episode?
I mean,
is that a thing we're keeping track of?
I've been pretty consistent. I've been pretty consistent.
It's every episode, right?
Right. I was going to say, I'm guessing it's 5 for 5 so far.
It is. It is. I mean,
Did you give it a look last episode?
No.
Are you joking?
No, she gave it to Sawyer.
I gave it to Sawyer. When you're stealing the episode away from the main focus of the episode because you said 1 line, that's hilarious.
I'm right behind you, jackass. Come on.
Oh, right behind you, jackass. Anyway, but my favorite part of this one was light, sticks.
When you are getting a grammar lesson from Sawyer, you're in a rough place.
Yeah. Light sticks? What's that? No, you're an idiot. Go again. See, Shannon bringing nothing. She doesn't even know simple like a phrase. Like,
all she's doing is being a butt of a joke for Sawyer. Yeah.
Anything. All right, yeah. Jake. Is there anything else that you need to say on White Rabbit? If not, I know I am set. If anybody else has anything they want to bring on.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, so this is another solid episode, and we are 5 episodes in. Can't wait to continue. So we will see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.
Bye. Fuck you, Sarah.
All right, here we are for our spoiler section after Jake. So if you are new to watching Lost, this is your time to go. Shoo, 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 out of the room. Go away. Bye. Are you gone yet? It's time to go. All right, we're good. Here we go. So, White Rabbit, where do we want to start off with spoilers?
I feel like I've become the resident Man in Black watch guy. So this is like our first real, in-depth look at the Man in Black, and we see in season 6 that this was the Man in Black leading Jack to the caves, leading Jack to water, and Jack will later question him on that. I wanted to talk to you about my headcanon theory regarding the Man in Black.
Please do.
Maybe they mention it in the show. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but I've always thought this. We talked about what happened to Kristin's body. My theory was always that the Man in Black took Kristin's body and moved it to further implant that with Jack. So I think the plan would have also been to get rid of Locke's body, but Alana and her crew end up finding it, and that's what's the Man in Black's undoing in the end. So I think this is him getting rid of the evidence, as it were, in terms of Kristin's body and really fucking with our crew.
Yes.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, also, this is where I've brought this up before. Lost is such a great show to have everybody have their own interpretations, and I think that's like a proven point right there, is like where like so many people could really have no idea and have their own theories on where Kristin's body is. I know for me, like on my first watch of the show, The Man in Black, I was so confused as to like what he was doing with when he's as Kristin and things like that. Like completely lost. I'm like, no pun intended, but like literally like what is happening here? I don't understand. It's only on these like rewatches that I've actually really come to understand kind of who he is, like why he is the way that he is, what he's doing, what his purpose is. And so with that, it kind of, again, bringing up just the interpretation of everybody to have an idea of where those bodies ended up is kind of a fun thing to do.
And like we get very solid answers to certain questions that this is what it is, and it's not open to interpretation. It is what it is. But then there's a lot of things on Lost where they give you some things to lead you down the path, but they don't spell it out for you. And that's what makes it fun to talk about. And I love that everyone can have their opinions on it, and it's, you know, yours is no more right than mine and vice versa.
Yeah.
No, she's wrong.
My favorite part about this, the Christian situation or the Men in Black, is because, you know, we just had the Walkabout episode where John Locke is now walking after being crippled. So it completely suspends the illusion that nothing can, or anything can, or not suspends, but proves the illusion that anything can happen on this island. So you've got, you possibly have Jack's dad re-alived on the island.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe he was healed. Maybe he's back to life. And like, as a viewer in 2004, we're all sitting there like, what? Now, those of us who've watched through, we obviously know that's not what happened.
I think I was probably the only person watching this, like, as my first time watching, being like, obviously the body just fell out. Like, that's why it's not there. Like, I know for a split second, I'm like, why is it empty? And then I'm like, oh, duh, it probably just fell out of the plane. I mean,
maybe it did.
Maybe.
You know? Maybe it fell out of the plane. Maybe somebody else came and took it. Maybe the Man in Black.
Maybe it ended up with the tailies.
Maybe the people at customs like kept the body and sent the casket to make Jack feel better. Like, there's all sorts of things that could have happened.
100%.
Maybe the boars ate it.
The boars ate it for sure. I also like going into, I've been obviously the resident number person. I know that, you know, Sawyer, he brought up when Kate jumps him, that he made that birthday wish 4 years ago. Gregg, you brought up that Jack mentions that I need to land in 16 hours. And so again, it's, this has been my 108th, we've joked around rewatch, and I've never picked up on the number. So it's really fun that on this rewatch specifically, I'm hearing those numbers, and it's just kind of really fun for me, kind of being like a new watcher myself, being like, oh.
I have one more if you guys have anything.
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
So we also have a potential continuity error in this episode. I've got a headcanon theory that I can explain it away, but this is where Charlie says he doesn't swim. We are also going to get in the season 3 finale evidence that Charlie very much does swim as he swims down to the Looking Glass station.
Well, does he technically swim or just go down by the rope?
Okay, so, but here's the other thing. So this is
I wouldn't call that swimming.
how much of it is he just doesn't want to be the one to go do it, so he says he can't swim? How much of it is that he can swim if he has to, but he's not a good swimmer? He's not like a life-saving swimmer.
He's not a lifeguard that needed life-saving.
Right. And like, how much is it that he learns how to swim being on the island because he has to? And like, because he does go after, he goes after Claire in the water. Between now and then.
He definitely does swim, because we also see him learn to swim in the Greatest Hits episode. His dad shows him.
Yeah, it is actually a continuity error, because in the Greatest Hits episode, he says has the title of junior swim champion in Northern England, and then he also swims in Looking Glass.
He's still okay. So then, these are all good reminders. So then, what's probably happening then is that he's still in his like withdrawal stage of so
he's not even withdrawing, he's still on it, so he probably forgot that he
so he is in no condition to be saving anyone's life. So this is him being like, I ain't doing that. I know I can't swim. I don't know what you're talking about.
My theory on this is that he has his drugs on him and he's not going to get them wet.
Yeah, that also makes sense.
Saving someone, yeah,
that's a good idea.
That is very much
that's how I've always explained it away.
Excuse, yes.
So there's a fun fact that I don't know if you guys know this, but it's a spoiler. Is that both of Jack's first full flashbacks episodes, so the Looking Glass and this one, they're both titled with Alice in Wonderland themed.
Yeah, true.
There's a third one too, is there not? What Alice Found?
Is that a Jack episode though?
I thought it was.
I don't remember that episode title. I'm not sure. There certainly could be like another related one.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, again, too, like we're gonna dive in more to this. I mean, this one didn't have as many spoilers leading up to it, but obviously, you know, we're gonna lead to Boone. I feel like this leads to his kind of demise and wants kind of getting away from Jack, which gets him into the situation with Locke, because I think this kind of set them up for this, where it's kind of like the divide where they were somewhat working together at this moment. So I think that this was kind of that fight kind of blew that up. Obviously the live together, die alone is going to come into play, because we know that some people, they are going to be going back and forth, but then Jack's like, why are we going back and forth? We should live here on the caves. And so that kind of whole live together, die alone comes back to bite Jack a little bit in the ass coming up. So as far as like,
it was cute when Jake was like, oh, they're like working together. I'm like,
give it time.
Don't get attached to that.
Give it time. But also, I mean, too, Locke, we talked about Locke having this moment of like this fatherly figure moment, which is interesting because I guess this could be the spoiler, as we know we're going to talk about later on in the series. Lost has a very non-great relationship with his father to even be able to have this moment of this fatherly figure. He never had a great fatherly role in his life. We know how that worked out for him. So the fact that Locke is able to really hone in on what Jack needs in that moment as a fatherly figure, I think again speaks to just Locke and Terry O'Quinn as a character development as well too.
Yeah, he's just so wrong about so many things later that I'm like,
obviously. Also, we did bring up, or Greg brought this up earlier. I think it was Greg or Michael. One of you guys did. That Jack did his own stunt there for that. And what you can see is when he is hanging over the cliff, you can see him actually holding on to like the lattice part that's back there in this hand while he's slipping down, but this hand never moves. So kudos to you, Matthew Fox, for wanting to have a great view of that, but also kudos to not the camera people for not fixing that.
It's fine. It's a quick shot. It's fine.
There's two other bloopers in that scene right there. If you look when Matthew Fox looks up at Locke, it's actually his stunt double. And then if you look when Locke is looking down at Jack, you can see the microphone right above his head.
Good old thing.
Yeah, it's kind of, it must be tricky shooting on location and getting everything.
Oh yeah,
shooting on location, shooting a stunt where like your star could get hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we're only doing this once, so if the microphone's in the shot, the microphone's in the shot. Too bad. We're
Right.
only doing this once. Like yes.
He is not falling to his death in this moment. But yeah, no, a lot of great things. We're gonna have more. I mean, Walkabout was very obviously spoiler worthy because there's so much that happens with Locke and his story. But even Jack too. I mean, the other thing that I don't think Jake is aware of yet is that Jack is a spinal surgeon, which that's going to come into massive play later on down the road. But right now he's just known him as the doctor. So that it's going to be fun to see that reaction from Jake when he learns that he is not only a doctor, he is a surgeon, but not only a surgeon, is he a spinal surgeon, and why that was so necessary.
And somewhere on the island, my favorite character of all time is already looking into Jack for the help he might need.
100%. Any other spoilers that we want for this segment of After Jake for White Rabbit?
I have one. So this is there's a quote from Locke here where he's talking to Jack and he says, I looked into the eye of this island and what I saw was beautiful. And we see that Locke is the first character that has interaction with the smoke monster. And we see the smoke monster throughout this series show the characters things in order to manipulate. And we see that Mr. Echo got a very different vision from the smoke monster. And he says, that's not what I saw. So it's interesting to see the Man in Black clearly showing Locke something that really boosts his belief in his destiny and in the island, and already trying to plant those seeds with him.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
So easily manipulated, that Locke.
Yeah. God love him.
I get it though. Like
especially when he was
situation.
yeah.
He just wanted so badly to believe in like the goodness. I get it.
Yeah.
But if I was on that island,
the other thing
I'm
that
following Jack. I'm not following him.
The other thing that we haven't spoiled yet, because I know that we're going to touch on it more, but I think that it's fun to look at these episodes too, is like, obviously Jake does not know Sun can actually understand. So it's very interesting to me that other people, again, this is on the rewatch. I did not pick this up when I was watching it for the first time, obviously, like Jake hasn't. But there are times when they're saying things and she's like instantly like Walt, for a perfect example, he's like, "What is that?" And she's like, "Oh," I'm like, so how would you know what he just said if you're not, you know what I mean? So it's
like she's smart enough to not out herself as knowing how to speak it, but she accidentally responds in ways that only people who understand would respond.
That's when they finally realize that
right, which is really great, like writing and acting on their part to like sprinkle those seeds in there. Yeah.
You got to catch also the fact that Saeed, the guy who can read everybody, called her out because she can understand.
Yes, she can.
She can understand me.
Yeah.
There we go.
100%. Yeah, it's again like these things that, it's like these things that are so, like with Locke, when we said it was so obvious that Locke was paralyzed that entire episode, that it's so obviously that she does understand. So it's gonna that's another like big reveal I think Jake's gonna not be ready for, but I'm excited.
Well, and the reveal that like because the idea that we have of their marriage is very different from what their marriage actually is.
Correct. Yeah, but also again, I love that. Like, I love Jin and Sun. I probably like there's not many out there, especially in these early times. But like, I also looked at this as like a viewer for the first time. I'm like, Jin is such an asshole, but also you can tell that he cares. So like, maybe he's just stressed. Like maybe like they just crash. So like maybe this is not just him being an asshole as a husband, but maybe he's just stressed and doesn't handle that well.
Right. I mean, yeah, as we find out, he is not actually an asshole. He's actually a really nice guy.
Correct.
Yeah. And he's been, put in a horrible position by Sun's father for a long time and really killed him as a person almost inside. He just became a shell of himself.
Yeah.
And
It is crazy to see like her like having to be so like she's wearing the shirt that comes all the way up to her neck, and like he's not letting her like wear short sleeves or anything, and like what she turns into, like she turns into a badass, like great.
Love it. All right, I think we've covered everything spoiler wise for White Rabbit, but we'll be back for our next episode with Jake and then after Jake. So stay tuned with us again. Like, subscribe, all the things.
Like, comment, subscribe, share, turn on bell notifications, all of it.
Ask the questions in the comments if they are not spoilers, but also message us individually if you need to. So if you want to talk spoilers, we're happy to do so. But yeah, with that, we're going to end this segment of After Jake. See y'all later.
Bye.